Hello and welcome to my channel, Talisman Tarot. In this reading I want to ask the cards and spirit directly through channeling about how your father perceives you. And I have 4 groups here that you can choose from. This will be group number 1, this will be group number 2, this will be group number 3, and this will be group number 4. And so I will ask you to use your intuition and choose the group that speaks to you the most, the group that catches your eye, and that group will be your group. And if you need any more time to choose, you can just pause the video. But if you don't need any more time, then just head down to the description box below and find the timestamp for your particular group and click on that, and your reading should appear in front of you. And while you're down there in the description box below, make sure to check out my guide on how to book a personal reading from me. I love doing personal readings for you guys. It's always a pleasure. So please check that out. But let's focus on this reading right now, right here, right now. Pick your group and I'll see you in your reading. Hello, group number 1. You chose this Jolanda Tarot deck, and I'm going to start with some channeling and then I'm going to shuffle the cards for you. So I'm going to do the channeling now. So Spirit, can you answer this question for group number 1, the people who will choose group number 1, the people who will choose the Jolanda Tarot deck? How does group number 1's father perceive group number 1? How does group number 1's father perceive them? Okay, so I'm sensing that your father perceives you as the apple of his eye. And if you have other siblings, they are also the apple of his eye. I don't think this person, I don't think your father would play favorites. But if he did, even though he would never do that, but if he did, if he had to, if he was told, who's your favorite, if you don't tell us who your favorite is, we're gonna kill your whole family or something like that, then I think he would say you. But he wouldn't do it just if it wasn't very critical circumstances, then he wouldn't play favorites. That's not his style. But I think you're your father would describe you as the apple of his eye, that he perceives you as this is actually a bit funny, because this is something that came through in the channeling, is that I think your father would describe you as a pain in the ass, but the good type of pain. And I thought it was a bit creepy, but then I got the explanation, and that is because when you have pain in the ass, it's because you've had a good workout. And I thought it was going to be something a lot less innocent than that, but that's actually very, very cute though. It's so I think what this means is that I think your father perceives you as someone who's a bit hard on him sometimes, but it's also needed. He needs that it's like a good workout. If you're being hard on him, he knows that you're doing it for his own good. You're doing it because he needs to hear those things. If you tell him something that if you kind of correct his behavior, or tell him not to say certain things in public, or that some things are offensive to say, and that some people could get hurt if he says certain things out in public or something like that, then I think he knows that it's coming from a good place. It's coming from you just wanting him to grow as a person, wanting him to actually step it up and not gain any enemies. Like that you're just looking out for him. And I think he likes that, even though he might not, like when you do it, I think he doesn't show a lot of appreciation, but deep down he appreciates it. And I think you can also get away with it, like if you were blunt with him, if you say anything, like if you're being honest with him, if you tell him something, like, or criticize something that he does, you can get away with it because you're the apple of his eye, and you can say whatever and he wouldn't get mad at you. But if somebody else said it, he would probably be less keen on just forgiving them right away. Like, but I think he forgives you right away because you're the apple of his eye. So yeah, I'm gonna shuffle a little bit more about how your father perceives you. Okay, so with the Emperor reversed, I think, well, this is the Father card, and it's reversed, and so I think in a way, I think your father perceives you as somebody who doesn't need him as much right now. I think he actually feels a little bit. I think it does seem like it's bothering him a little bit that you're grown up and that you don't need him anymore. And I think he feels a bit like he has lost some kind of purpose in life now that you can kind of do things on your own, and like you don't, like I feel like there's something about a lamp here. And I don't know if this resonates with all of you, but it might resonate with only a few of you. But I'm sensing that there was something about a lamp, and that you might have, like, that there was a lamp in your apartment or in your house or in your home that needed to be fixed or something, or and I think he expected you to reach out to him to fix it. But then maybe you just fixed it on your own. And I think at that point, I think he felt like now you don't need him anymore. Like now you're self-sufficient. Now he doesn't have a purpose in your life anymore. And I think that this is a big grief in his life, to feel a bit like you've grown up and grown out of him, like that you're not I think he wants to be a bigger part of your life. I think he wants to be more he wants to be the person that you call whenever there's something that needs to be fixed around the house or around your home. But I think I think that's maybe also the good good type of pain in the ass, like that he kind of, like, I think maybe in the past you were more reliant on him to kind of fix things, like physical things, like things that, mechanical things, like things that, like if your oven broke or something, then I think he felt like in the past you would call him and he would fix it for you, and I think he felt needed back then, like he felt like now he could do that for you, and then he had an actual purpose. He could give you something. He could do something for you. That, and I think that is also his love language, is to do things like do practical things for the people that he loves. And if he's not able to give you that, then I think he feels like you're drifting a little bit away from him. So maybe if something breaks in your home, like now or like in the next few months, maybe consider calling your dad. And if you're okay, this is a bit like, if your dad is dead, I know that that's only specific for some of you, but I know that some of you also watch these readings for receiving messages from the other side. So if your dad has passed away, I know it's only for a few of you, but then I think your father kind of wants you to maybe reach out, like if your oven breaks, then maybe ask your father, even if he's not there, like even if he's dead, ask him like spiritually, like what should I do, and maybe let him, like see if you can let him help you from the other side. I know it's a bit of a more difficult kind of I know it's difficult to establish a connection, but it might be worth a try. And I think he wants to be there. I think he wants to be there for you, help you, especially with the things that he's good at. And I think he's very good at doing mechanical things, fixing things, figuring out what needs to be like what needs to be changed in order for something to work, and like and I think he wants, and if your father is alive, I think he just wants you to call him instead of calling a plumber, or like, I know you wouldn't call a plumber if your oven is broke, but I'm saying like that was just an example, like calling a plumber if your toilet isn't working, like then maybe you've done that in the past, like or recently, maybe you recently kind of called some professional to come help you with something that I think your father felt like that was a waste of money, because you could just have called him and he would have done it for you. But maybe you feel a little bit like, maybe because he kind of calls you a pain in the ass, so maybe you want to relieve him of that pain. But I think what you need to understand is, I think he likes the pain. I think he likes to joke around about you being a pain in the ass, and that you're being difficult, but in a way that I think he says it in a loving way. It might not always come across that way, but I think he just likes to point that out, because somehow it makes him feel a bit more important. And I know it's hard to understand, because if this person, like if your father has actually like called you a pain in the ass or difficult to your face, then of course you don't want to ask him for help. But I think I think in his mind he's just joking around. But yeah, I would understand why you wouldn't have picked up on that necessarily, because I don't know if he, like, if he's I don't know if he's good at delivering a joke in a way where it's completely clear that he's actually joking. I think sometimes that line is like, it's hard to determine where that line goes, and I think for him I think he likes to just I think he likes to deadpan his jokes, and that makes it even harder to kind of figure out if he's joking or not. But yeah, but I think he wants you to actually be more difficult. Like he wants you to be, like he wants you to call him and be like a bother, like be a distraction. And I think he also feels like maybe people, like, I don't know if your father has been through some kind of surgery or something like that. But I think your father might feel like people have treated him differently since the surgery, and that people are not really asking him for help anymore because they want to relieve him from that from that pain, but they want to make sure he doesn't do too much, since he might have been told that he is not supposed to do too much after the surgery. But I think he just wants to have I think he just wants to have an excuse to not follow doctor's orders, like that he just wants to kind of rebel against what he was told to do. And I think it doesn't seem to have enough good reasons to do that. And I think he just wants other people to, I think he wants you and if you have siblings, I think he wants your siblings to also just call him, ask him to do things that even though you know he's not supposed to do it, but he just wants he's like a little bit like a kid who was told not he can't do something, and he just really wants to do it. And yeah, if that makes sense. So with the Two of Cups here, I think your father perceives you as very loving, very caring, and I think he also feels like you sometimes give people tough love, and I think he feels actually kind of proud whenever you do that, because I think he feels like he raised you properly, since you're actually being hard on people sometimes, saying things bluntly, like being honest with people, like and that you tell people the truth. And I think he likes that he has raised you that way. That you're not someone who just babies people. Like, I don't know if you're in a relationship right now, but if you are, or if you have dated someone in the past, I think he really liked that you weren't just letting that person treat you like a doormat. That you stand up for what you believe in, and that you know what your worth is. And I think he feels a bit like he has a little bit of a finger to play, like in that, like that finger in play. I don't know if that actually makes sense in English. I don't know, but like that he feels like he actually contributed to you feeling like you deserve more than some dipshit who's just treating you poorly. Like that maybe you dated someone like that in the past, but maybe it was a very short time that you dated this person, because you knew that it wasn't something you that you deserved more. I think you just knew you deserved more, and I think your father was very proud when you stopped dating that person. And it may be also just because your father didn't like that person. So I feel like this is maybe your ex, and your father just didn't like that person at all, and just wanted you to break up with that person. And I think when you finally did break up with them, then I think your father was just very happy. Like, it was a very happy day for your father. And of course, your father probably shouldn't be like cheering over the death of your relationship, but I think he just felt like you were better off. So in his mind, there was something to celebrate. But I don't know. So with the Ace of Wands here, I think your father perceives, and the Ace of Pentacles is here too. I think your father just perceives you as someone with eminent potential. Like, you have so much potential that you could get into, like, because I think your father perceives you as a star, as someone who could get far in life, like that you could, like. I think your father has, like, since you were a baby, I think your father has always seen, like, that you had something very special about you, that you weren't just a normal child. And of course, that's how all parents see their own child. So it's not necessarily, but I think this is a bit different, because I think your father actually just saw you as very special. And maybe even a little bit more special than your siblings, if you have any, because of maybe I don't know if you were already quite good at acting or something like that when you were like 2 years old or 3 years old, that there was, like, maybe you could do something, like, kind of, like, I don't know, like. I just think your father, just from that moment when he realized that you seemed to have a great talent of, like, showmanship or something like that, then I just think your father perceived you as a star from that moment on. And I think he still sees a lot of potential in you. And even if you have chosen a different career path, I think he still kind of wonders if you're gonna get into show business. Maybe he was even the one who kind of talked you out of the show business back in the day. Like, maybe he told you that you should have, like, a plan B, like. But I think maybe now, I think he regrets that, because I think he said that mostly because he felt obligated to do that, like, that he felt like that is what a parent should say to their child. And so I don't know if I just feel like he didn't want to have the burden on his shoulders to kind of get you hyped up into going into show business in case that it would go wrong, like, because then he would have the responsibility for it. And I think he kind of didn't want that responsibility. So I think he kind of wanted to get you on a safer track, so that, like, because then there would be a more secure, or there would be more secure prospects, like, and I think he just knew that show business would be too risky, and he knew that I think he knew that he would get blamed if he talked you into going into the show business. Then he would yeah, and he would probably have gotten blamed for it. So to be honest, I think maybe he would have heard a lot about it. Like I think yeah, I think that's true. I think it's true that he would have been blamed, but he also probably gets blamed for kind of pushing you in another direction. Now that you might feel like maybe you would have been happier if he had pushed you into show business, but I don't know. With the Magician card, I just think your father perceives you as very talented, very original, very magical in a way. Like that you could be a good showman. A good showman is also somewhat of an illusionist. So I think your father just perceives you as someone who has multiple talents, that you could easily get famous if you wanted to, and I think he also understands if you don't want to, but I think he just really perceives you as very special and very unique, and that that you really have some gifts. So yeah, I'm gonna shuffle some of these archetype cards just to get a little bit more information about how your father perceives you. Okay, with a gambler card, the gambler card says willingness to follow intuition even when others doubt you. And I think your father perceives you that way, that you're very good at following your own intuition. And maybe also that, like, even though he might have tried to push you in certain directions, I don't know if it has always worked out. Like maybe he tried to push you into to getting like an education and getting like some kind of craft that could be your plan B if your dreams don't come true, or like if you don't achieve your goals, or like that. I think you might have always wanted to do something, and maybe he knew that, like that maybe when you were 14 or 15, then you might have talked about getting into acting, getting into writing, or getting into singing or something like that. I don't know, but something creative, I feel like. So, but I think he might have kind of said like, well, maybe get a craft, something that isn't shaky, something that you can rely on, count on, something that you would even be able to do if the internet somehow like got shut down, like from one day to the other. Again, that's something I think is actually a concern in your father's mind. Like that, what if the internet just shuts down and nobody can use the internet anymore? Especially if you have chosen like some kind of job that's on the internet. I think that's something that he's thinking a lot about. That what are you going to do? Like what? And I don't think he has anything to worry about, like especially not like it's like with the belief that like the people had in the 80s that in 2000 there would be flying cars, and I think like with the internet, like that I don't think it's like necessarily gonna happen within the next 20 years, at least, that the internet should somehow get closed down, or like, and I'm just being and 20 years is like it's even Like I'm just saying that I feel like I can confirm that the next 20 years is not going to get shut down, and probably a lot more than that. But I just want to. I don't want to be too optimistic, you know. But even though but I don't even know what I'm saying. But and I don't know why I'm talking about this. But yeah, I think. I think your father feels like maybe you have chosen a bit of like, because maybe you didn't actually listen to him when he told you to get a plan B, like some kind of craft, some kind of education. Maybe you listened, but you didn't really follow through with that, on that, because maybe your intuition didn't tell you that, or maybe your intuition told you that it wasn't a good idea, and so maybe you're doing something else right now, maybe something that is, on the internet. And I think he feels like it's cool that you're following your intuition and that you're not listening to him, because maybe he's not always right about everything. I think he feels like maybe he was one of those in the 80s who thought that in 2000 there would be flying cars, and so maybe he knows that sometimes he has had wrong prospects of the future. So I'm gonna look at this with the Pioneer card reversed. It says compulsive need to keep moving on as a shadow attribute here. And it came out reversed, so I'm reading the shadow attribute. So I think your father might feel a bit like you moved away from home very quickly, and that he felt like he wasn't ready for it. And I feel like in his mind he thinks that you weren't ready either, because I think he feels like maybe you would have been better off if you had just stayed home for a few years. Because I think he feels like now you're moving around a little bit too much, and maybe he feels like if you had been rooted in the place that you like in your first home, like, or and maybe he also feels like maybe he did you wrong here, because maybe he moved around a little bit also when you were younger, like when you were a child or a teenager. He might have also contributed to this rootlessness, like that you don't have roots to one place. And maybe he feels a bit like he's a little bit to blame for that, but I think he also feels like now you're doing the same, and maybe if you had stayed a little bit longer at home, maybe you would have gotten roots to your hometown, or the town that you used to live right before you moved away from home, because maybe you had only lived there for a few years because your father and mother moved too much around. But I think he feels like, because I think you're like what I'm kind of getting at, that if your father is alive, I think he. And also, like, I don't know if, but if your father is alive, I think your father is very likely living in the same place as you used to live when you lived at home right before you moved away from home, if that makes sense. And I think he feels like he actually found that place where he has now gained roots. Like he has now he feels rooted. Now he feels like this is his home. And I think he feels like if you had just stayed a little bit longer, just a few years more, then you would also have felt like it was your home. And maybe you had like more of an attachment to this place and to this town. Like, and I think he feels like maybe you don't want to visit because you don't, or like that you don't like the town that he lives in. But I think he feels like maybe if you kind of stayed there for a little bit more time, then you would see some of the beauty within this town, or like some of the good parts of this town. Maybe your father feels a bit like you look at the town that he lives in with like a bit of like disgust, or like not disgust, but that you don't like it, and that you might make fun of it a little bit and kind of call everybody who lives in that town hillbillies or something. I don't know, but and I think he feels like you do that because you don't have an attachment to the town, which I think he actually understands. But I think he would have wanted you to kind of grow an attachment to it, so that you actually want to come and visit, so that you don't feel like every time you visit you have to like visit this town that you don't like, because I think he feels like it's not him that you don't. I think he has a kind of a feeling that it's not him that you're avoiding, it's the town, and I don't know if that's true. Maybe it's both, like, or maybe you don't want to visit because of maybe not your father, but maybe your mother or your stepmother, or so maybe there's just another reason. But I don't think your father really takes that into account. I think he just thinks that you always make fun of this town, and so maybe that is why you don't want to come visit him, and yeah. And if you do actually visit him a lot, I think he just feels like you should be visiting him more. I don't know if I just think he really likes spending time with you. So, but with the warrior card here, reversed, the shadow attribute says trading ethical principles for victory at any cost. I think he feels a little bit like sometimes you, like whenever you have an argument with him, or maybe someone in your family, that maybe the most important thing for you is being right. Where maybe he feels like maybe sometimes it would be nice if you could just choose to be kind instead, and maybe just not like, even though I think he like, even though, like, as I said before, I think he's very, very proud of you whenever you speak your mind to him. Then he gets really proud, and when you speak your mind to someone you're dating, especially if it's someone that he doesn't like if like your ex-boyfriend, he didn't like that person, so whenever you spoke up to that person, he thought like that's the way to do it, like then he was really proud. But there might be someone that he really doesn't like you to pick a fight with, and it could be your stepmother or your mother, and I think he kind of loses all his principles whenever it comes to that, whenever we're talking about that person, because it seems like other rules apply. I think he would want you to just nod and just carry on with your life without being so bothered by some of the things that this person does, like your mother or stepmother or somebody else in your family. I don't know who this is, but it seems like you might sometimes kind of get into an argument with this person, and there's maybe a very good reason why you get into an argument with them, and maybe it isn't always you who starts the argument. Maybe maybe it's your mother or stepmother who starts the argument, but I think your father would like it if you could just sometimes just turn the other cheek and just maybe ignore some of the things that this person says to you. That some fights are not worth fighting, like, and sometimes it can just give off a very bad energy around the house, and I think I know this person doesn't blame you for it, but they don't blame your stepmother or mother for this either. So it's like they don't blame anyone, but they should, like, there is one person who's like, maybe it's not one person, maybe it's just both of you kind of getting into a bad dynamic whenever you're around each other. And I think it just makes your father a bit sad whenever there's a fight in the house. Then he would just rather it was avoided. But whenever you fight with him, like whenever you say something to him, something like whenever you criticize him or tell him that he's being a jerk, or like then he likes that. I think he enjoys that, and just finds you to be delightful, and not even in a sarcastic way. I think he really likes that, but just not when it's directed towards his wife. I think he just gets really defensive whenever he has to defend his wife. So I don't know I kind of feel like for many of you there is like a stepmother dynamic here, like that this person, that your father's wife is your stepmother. And if that's the case, like it is always hard to have and like, especially when your father is maybe not really that it seems like your father is very passive in this, and doesn't put her in her place, and kind of might take it out on you instead of his wife. Or maybe he just keeps out of it. Like whenever there's an argument, he might just walk away. Like, and that's also a bit problematic, because then he's not taking sides, but he's also not really paying attention to whatever is going on, because he just ignores it. And so if you go and talk to him about some of the troubles, then he might not know the extent of it, because he has like closed his ears and walked away. And so he might not have been present for some of the most nasty things that your stepmother said to you, like because he wasn't there, because he slipped out of the he slipped out the back door. And I can tell that there is some troubles here about that. I might do a reading about like a stepmother, stepfather reading, or like step-parent reading at some other point. But yeah, I think I'm gonna close this reading now, because I just feel like this reading has been too long, and I don't want to bore any of you with a way too long reading. So I'm gonna close this reading now, and I hope this reading was helpful. And if it was, please subscribe to my channel. And if you want a personal reading from me, check the description box below for more information on how to get one. And have a great day, and bye. Hello, group number 2. You chose this, The Wild Unknown tarot deck, and I'm going to start with some channeling, and then I'm going to shuffle the cards for you. So I'm going to do the channeling now. So Spirit, can you answer this question for group number 2? The people who will choose group number 2, the people who will choose this, the Wild Unknown Tarot deck. How does their father perceive them? How does group number 2's father perceive them? Okay, I feel like your father is proud of you, but he has a very funny way of showing it, where I feel like he isn't actually showing it at all. Like I feel like he doesn't express anything positive to you. I think he might use it as an excuse that he doesn't know how to express his feelings or something like that. So maybe he has some kind of cop out where he doesn't actually need to validate you because he can't. Even though that is the role of a parent. A parent is supposed to validate the child and see the child and notice the child and clap at the child whenever the child does something great, or like pat the child on the back whenever they do something important, or whenever they achieve something that was hard to achieve. And like I feel like your father might have abused this cop out, like they've just been able to kind of that they've not had to react in any way to or say anything to you, because they could just somehow use it as an excuse that they have a hard time expressing themselves, they have a hard time communicating, or that they have bad social skills, or like that. I feel like they've just used a lot of different excuses, but there is no excuse, because of course, like if you have a child, you would want that child to feel like you're proud of that child, because it's just like, yeah, I don't know, but I feel like your father has always been very bad at telling you anything, like, yeah, telling you that he's proud and complimenting you, like, and so yeah, he has a funny way of showing it, but I think he actually truly, like deep down, maybe very, very deep down, is very proud of you. But yeah, but I feel like it doesn't really seem to matter that much if he's proud of you or not, because he hasn't shown you that he's proud of you in the ways that a normal parent would. Like I feel like he didn't come to your graduation. I feel like he didn't come to parent-teacher meetings or conferences. I think he kept a lot. I think he kept away from anything where he could have actually been supportive and could have actually somehow shown that he cares. And he didn't really take any of those opportunities to show you that he cared about you. And I think that speaks volumes. So it wouldn't really matter if he told you now that he's proud of you, because it wouldn't mean anything. Because if he really truly was proud of you, then he would show it. But I feel like, though, that he believes in his heart, he believes that he is proud of you, but he just has a funny way of, like, or he has a hard time communicating that out. And I think he has done a lot of things that proved otherwise, which is very hard to it's hard to make that right, because I feel like your father has said some things that you probably will never forgive him for. I feel like for some of you, I feel like this could have been said in a drunken state, like where your father was drunk, and I think whenever he drinks, I think he says some things that he doesn't. Maybe I don't know if he doesn't mean it, but it's something he wouldn't say in a sober state. So I think when he's sober, I think he's more focused on saying the right things, but when he gets drunk, I think he ends up saying some things that can be potentially very hurtful, and I think that has happened in the past, where I feel like for some of you, like if your father is an alcoholic, he might have blamed his alcoholism on you and said that you were the reason why he started drinking or something like that, and that's unforgivable. Completely unforgivable to say something like that to a child or to a teenager or to an adult child, but like it's still he is to blame for his own actions. He can't just smear that out on you. Like that's not right. He should take accountability for his own actions, and he should probably have given you an apology instead, like apology for drinking, because he might have messed your whole childhood up because he was drunk all the time, and then he has the audacity to blame it on you when really he should have been apologizing. So but I know that won't resonate with all of you, but it resonates with some of you, so I felt like it was worth saying. So but I feel like your father also has said, like, that I'm also getting some other things that your father could have said to you, like maybe if you're homosexual, he might have said something very, very hurtful to you about that, like maybe he disapproved of that. Or something like that, and might have made fun of you for it, and it's very hard when like, because these things that I'm getting here, like these things I'm receiving about your father, it kind of paints a picture of a slightly unpleasant person. I don't know if that. I don't know if it resonates with all of you, but I feel like your father wasn't a great father to you, and I think he said a lot of things that might have caused you to have a lot of insecurities, and might have made you feel bad about yourself. Might have made you question yourself and question your own worth and stuff like that, which is unforgivable. And a father should be doing the opposite, should be building you up, not breaking you down. And I feel like your father said a lot of grim things, very grim. And I feel like if you confronted him with it now, I feel like I'm afraid he wouldn't actually apologize to you now, because I think your father is someone who never apologizes for anything. I think it's just not like, apologizing is just not a word in his vocabulary. He doesn't. I think he believes that it's only weak people who apologizes, and I think that's a horrible way to. It's a horrible philosophy to live by. It can't have had a like. I don't believe this philosophy has made his life better. I feel like he probably has had a lot of obstacles in his life, especially his personal life. I don't know if he has had much luck with love and romantic relations, because I think I could kind of imagine that your mother didn't want to deal with him at some point. Maybe they broke up at some point, and maybe they are still broken up because your father couldn't apologize for anything and just blamed everything on her. And so I kind of would understand if she walked away. But yeah, I feel like one of the reasons why he doesn't apologize is also because if he apologizes, then he needs to change his behavior, and he doesn't want to. Like, for instance, if he should apologize about his drinking, like if you confronted him about his alcoholism and how it affected you when you grew up with him, then I think he would be very defensive, because if he actually said that it's true that he did actually ruin your life by drinking and that he takes accountability for that, then that would mean that he would have to stop drinking now, which I think is too big of a sacrifice. And so I think he would rather just be defensive and say like no, it's like, yeah, I don't know what he would say, but I think he wouldn't take accountability, because then there is then he would be saying that he did something wrong. And if it's wrong, why would he still keep doing it? That's just, I think he just, and I think that's maybe also why he didn't want to go to, like, if it resonates with you that your father didn't go to your graduation and parent-teacher conferences when you were growing up, I think he wanted to fly under the radar. I think he kept away from any sort of setting where there were adults there who would be looking at his every move, like, and analyzing his behavior. And I think he was afraid of getting exposed and someone calling him out, and because if somebody caught him drinking, then it would be game over for him. Like, he would have to stop drinking. And I think he just wanted to somehow keep it secret, keep it hidden from everyone, and he would rather just keep away from any important event in your life than to have to say goodbye to his addiction. So I don't know, but I'm gonna shuffle and see what the cards have to say about how your father perceives you. With the 8 of Cups here, like, you can actually, it's reversed. You can see that this is kind of an alcoholic card. I feel like, with all these shattered glasses, like glass here, at the like and the rain pouring down at these this shattered glass, and like I don't know, but it came out reversed. So I think your father might be proud. Like deep down, I think your father is proud that you haven't followed into his footsteps, like that you that I think he can tell that that you don't have the same addictive pattern that he has, that you're not just keeping the vicious cycle moving, like that it seems like you have that you don't seem to have a hard time keeping sober. And I think he's actually proud of that. I think he was maybe a bit afraid that he would pass it on to his children. So to know that he hasn't, at least not with you, then I think he's proud of that. I think he's also proud, like if you have some social anxiety, but you haven't let it if you haven't let it shape your life in the way that he did. Like I feel like he used it as an excuse to keep away from everything, but in a way I don't think he, like when he looks at it in retrospect, I don't think he thought it was an excuse. I think he's like, and that's also true. Like, if he was diagnosed with social anxiety, then who am I to say that he was just using it as an excuse? Of course, he might not have been. Like, he might have actually had a serious condition that caused him to not be able to go to these parent-teacher conferences. But I just feel like maybe he could have gone out of his way. Like he could have actually sacrificed a little bit more of himself just to do something that would make you happy. Like, and I think, like, I have social anxiety, and I was diagnosed with it. So I feel like sometimes you can suck it up, and I'm not saying that everybody should be sucking it up, but I feel like sometimes a person with social anxiety can suck it up and just go to something because it's important for the other person, and then you just then you go through like the whole upset stomach and all the anxiety symptoms and the shaking and and all of that and the redness in your face all the time, and like you have to just go it's hard. It takes a lot. It takes a toll on you but it's something we do because we have to. And I feel like your father could have, for instance, like if your father didn't go to your graduation, I feel like he could have sucked it up, but he didn't. And I feel like in his mind, he thought it was a valid excuse, and maybe it was, and maybe it wasn't. But I feel like I kind of feel like it wasn't. I think there was other things at play. I think it wasn't just because of the social anxiety. It was because he didn't want to go. And I don't know if you have a stepfather who he didn't, like maybe he didn't want to meet him, and he didn't want to have to talk to him, and like he might have had other petty excuses that just was that he just kind of like that, and these were probably not the excuses he mentioned when he told you he didn't want to go. But that was probably the reasons, like, I think he just didn't like the competition, that he had to compete against your stepfather, like if you have a stepfather, and yeah, with the not wanting to get caught drinking, not wanting to like maybe like with this card here, like this is a rainbow, like and it's reversed. So I feel like there's also some of you, if you are homosexual, your father might have chosen not to go just because of that, because he was petty, because you had chosen to live your life in a way that he didn't approve of. And so I think he has made a lot of bad decisions throughout his life, and I don't think he has excuses enough to actually excuse his behavior, because it's just with a five of swords here. I think he perceives you as, sorry, I haven't brushed my hair for this reading. I'm very sorry that it looks a bit bad. Yeah, but sorry. But with the five of swords, I think your father perceives you as someone who holds on to the past, which is so ridiculous. Like, I hate this. Like, whenever this comes up in this kind of family reading, like I always get so annoyed with it, because like it's always like a father who who's like, oh, who says to his daughter that you're living in the past, you shouldn't be living in the past. But it's the father who causes the trauma, like the trauma that you might be referring to. Of course, you want to talk about the trauma in the past that was inflicted onto you by your father. You want to talk to your father about that because you want him to take accountability for the things he did in the past. And then he's like, oh, you're just living in the past. Oh, you need to move on. There's something wrong with you. Why can't you just live in the moment? And it's so annoying. It's so frustrating to, like, what gives him the right? Really? Like, it's just annoying. You have the right to confront him about the things he did to you in the past. Don't let him manipulate you into believing that there's something wrong with you for mentioning the past. It's just his way of finding yet another cop out so that he doesn't have to deal with the things he did in the past. And he loves that. He's all about the escapism. He's all about just running away from his problems. And so it's just easy to just blame everyone else. And then it's just that sort of energy I'm getting. And I'm going to shuffle some of these archetype cards just to get a bit more information about how your father perceives you, like personally or archetypically. Okay, so with the detective reversed, the shadow attribute of this card, it says falsifying information. And that's just gaslighting. It's just him just seeing you as somebody who falsifies the information, that whenever you confront him about the things that happened in the past, he can just say, oh, it didn't happen. That was not how it happened. You're just imagining things. It's just it's just planted memories. And like if you went to a psychiatrist or a therapist or psychologist, then your father probably does not believe in therapy, which doesn't come as a surprise to me, because he probably did not receive enough therapy in his life, and I think he is a good product of that. But I think if you went to a therapist and you talked to your therapist about some of the trauma that your father has inflicted on you, and then if you then discussed it with your father afterwards, your father probably just told you that the horrible, evil therapist just planted all these memories in your head, and if you went to hypnosis or something like that, then I think your father just might have tried to gaslight you into believing that it's just that's just what therapists do, like that they hypnotize you and then they just plant memories into your head, and that is, and he might have even like talked about some kind of like some case that he studied in the past, like something about some children who went to a therapist and then believed that they had been sexually abused, and that it was because the therapist used hypnosis on them and planted some evidence into their mind that it actually wasn't there or something. And he might use this one case. He might use this every time he gets into any sort of discussion where he has to face some of the things he did in the past. Then he refers to this annoying one case, and then that is proof that all therapy is just made by the devil and is not something to be taken seriously. So I think he perceives you as someone who falsifies information that you, and that is in it's not in general, it's within your relationship with him, that he feels like you falsify information about him, that you talk about him as if you know what he's thinking, what his intentions are, and I think he feels like you're falsifying it when truly I think you just see it very clearly what he's doing, but in his mind you're just making stuff up, like but yeah, it's very typical, really. This is very frustrating. If you love your dad and you have absolutely no, like, if none of this resonates with you, and you have a very loving, caring dad who's like a Care Bear, like, then this reading was not meant, probably not meant for you. So maybe choose another group. But yeah, I'm going to shuffle a little bit more about how your father perceives you. Okay, so with the Midas Miser card, I think this is what your father is actually proud of. And the Midas Miser, like the light attributes here, it says entrepreneurial or creative ability to turn anything to gold, delight in sharing life's riches. And so I think your father is actually proud of you in a career sense, like that whatever you're doing as a career, I think he is proud that you're actually going through with something, like that you haven't let your like, if you have, I'm sensing that some of you might have social anxiety, that might may or may not have been passed on from your father onto you. But I think your father is proud that you actually have achieved something. Like that, I think he felt like he never achieved anything because of the things that he had to that he had to deal with. Like that he had a lot of problems or issues that caused him to maybe not be able to attend higher education or something like that. And so I think he's actually proud that you seem to have been through like that you've gotten some degree in something, or that you're doing something entrepreneurial, like maybe you've started your own business. And I think he's proud of you for whatever you're doing business-wise or with your career. I think he didn't expect that to happen, which is kind of like an icky thing to say, like that he's surprised somehow that. And I think it's not because he didn't believe you could do it, like when it comes to your talents and your knowledge and your abilities. I don't think it was that, but I think it was because of your the other obstacles that you might have had in your life. Like if you have social anxiety, I think your father would have expected you to not get anywhere because he didn't. And I think it's just weird. I know that it probably doesn't resonate with all of you, but it's very specific, I know. But he might also have, like, if the homosexuality thing resonates with you, he might have also thought that you wouldn't get like, this is very old school, like a very, very old school way of thinking, very old fashioned. But he might have thought that you wouldn't get hired anywhere because of your sexuality, which is ridiculous in this day and age. But he might have thought that, like, when you came out, that it would sabotage some of your opportunities and some of the options, like that some doors would be closed because of that, which is, yeah, again, very, very old fashioned. But with the Destroyer card, with this, so the shadow attributes of this card, it says intoxication with destructive power, destroying others' dreams or potential. I don't know, like, I don't know if your father might have confided in you with a dream that he had, like maybe he wanted to move away or move to a different country or something, and you might have said, like, that would be very like very disrespectful to his family, and maybe also a bit like what's it called, like I don't know, but like maybe you just thought it was a bad idea because he has a lot of responsibilities in his country, and he would like, and maybe you felt like it was just typical because it seemed like he was just escaping again, like running away from his problems by thinking that somehow everything would be much better if he moved to a different country. Which is very typical for people like this, who thinks that the grass is always greener on the other side, and that they don't really realize that they are the problem. So if they move to a new country, their problems are not going to go away because they are the problem. So they're just going to be moving their problem to another country, and then they just have to deal with it somewhere else. It's not going to change anything. And maybe he felt like when you said that to him, that you didn't feel like it was a good idea for him to move. I think he felt like you were just a buzzkill, like you were just a party pooper. That you were destroying his dream in some way. But I think you were just wanting him for once in his life to actually do what's right, like to keep to not just run away, like, because that's just chicken shit behavior. Like it's not gonna fix anything. And yeah. But yeah, I think I feel like for some of you, like, I know you're watching this reading, maybe you hoped that it was maybe a little bit more positive than this reading was. Maybe some of you kind of know that, like, maybe this was what you expected. Maybe deep down you probably didn't have the highest hopes. Because of the past, that he hasn't really shown a very good sense of character in the past, like, or not sense of character, but good character. I mean, like so of course, but I think he is proud of you in some ways, but he. He's proud of you, but he's not gonna show you that ever. Which is, like, maybe he will at some point, I don't know, but it's like he keeps it so hidden away. Like, he doesn't. I think at this point he feels like if he actually told you that it would be. Maybe he feels a bit like now you're undeserving of that, which is such a, like, I hate to just keep this going, like I keep just making this reading worse and worse, and I know I've gotten a lot of criticism for spinning the readings in a very negative way, and I know I do that, but some people need to be called out on their bullshit. Like, some people are just very frustrating people, and I feel like I think at this moment I think he's mad at you in some way, where I think it's just because if he is mad at you, then you keep being the villain and he keeps being the victim, and as the victim he doesn't need to do anything. Then he can just blame you for whatever goes wrong in his life, or like then he doesn't need to take accountability for anything because he's the victim. And so if he actually told you something like that, he's proud of you, then suddenly you're not the villain anymore. And if he told you that he's sorry for some of the things that happened in the past, then suddenly he's the villain. And it's just, he can't have this shift, because at the moment he's just in the victim role and kind of stuck in it, and he needs to be there, because the victim role also makes him it helps him justify his bad behavior and his drinking and his addiction. And his addiction needs him to be alone, because addiction will always isolate a person, and he's just creating distance between himself and you, and he might even say some cruel things just to create more distance between you two, because and then he justifies to himself that of course he's drinking because because nobody loves him, and nobody's there for him, and everybody's just mean to him, and like, I don't know, and it's just his cop out to just keep doing what he's doing. And so yeah, but yeah, I think, like, at the moment, like, if this reading resonates with you, I feel like it's maybe a good idea to kind of put your father on ice a little bit and just live your life, and don't expect him to change. Don't expect him to come around and start behaving properly, because he's not going to do that. It's just going to make you even more disappointed with him. And yeah. But you have to know that this is not personal. This is him. Like, this is his own defense mechanisms, his own coping mechanisms. It has nothing to do with you, and it has everything to do with them, with him. So yeah. But I think that's all I have for you, group number 2. I hope this reading was helpful. Also, like, one thing, I don't know if, like, I'm kind of sensing, but of course you would know, but I'm kind of sensing that some of you might be asking about someone who, like, I don't know if, like, I feel like if I say this, and maybe some of you will get so, will feel like, oh, that doesn't resonate, so the rest of the reading doesn't resonate just because this one thing I say. But I feel like for some of you, I don't know if this is your adoptive, like, that you're adopted, and that this is that your father adopted you. I know that this will only resonate with a few of you, but I feel like this could also be one of the reasons why he doesn't, that he has always had a hard time maybe attaching himself to, or getting the feeling of attachment. But of course that's not a reason for him to keep going with this, because this should have been something that he should have worked on. And I feel like he's never tried to work on this. And of course, yes, maybe that is a valid reason for him to never have had, like, a proper attachment to you. If he didn't have the biological attachment, it might have been hard for him to fake feelings for you. But he should have become a master of faking feelings, because that he couldn't. Like, it seems like just, I feel like he should have known that he couldn't have put you through that. Like, he should have been honest from the start. Like, if he couldn't connect with you from the start, he should have somehow, like, spared you from this in some way, or at least tried to make you feel loved, to make you feel comfortable around him. I don't know. He shouldn't have called you names and blamed you for things and been hurtful to you. Like, that's not a way to cope with an attachment issue. But I don't know. But yeah. But now I'm gonna stop the reading. So yeah. I hope this reading was somewhat helpful to you. If it was, please subscribe to my channel, and if you want a personal reading from me, check the description box below for more information on how to get one, and have a great day, and bye. Hello, group number 3. You chose the Wonderland Tarot, and I'm going to start with some channeling, and then I'm going to shuffle the cards for you. So I'm going to do the channeling now. So Spirit, can you answer this question for group number 3, the people who will choose group number 3, the people who will choose the Wonderland Tarot deck. How does group number 3, how does group number 3's father perceive group number 3? How does their father perceive them? Okay, so I'm sensing that your father perceives you as very innocent, very maybe a little virgin-like, without sounding creepy. Like, of course, that sounds creepy coming from a father, but like, I think, like, don't take it that way though. Like, I think he just perceives you as like very decent, like very very respectful, like, and that you seem to give off a very like innocent, pure energy, like that. And I think he feels very lucky that you turned out that way, because I think he feels like he must have done something right since you turned out that way. But I don't know if it was necessarily his doing. I don't know, but I think he feels very lucky that he that he won the lottery, because I think he looked at, like, I think when you were younger, like when you were a teenager, like, or even when you were a preteen, I think he looked at some of his friends' children. Like, he might have compared you with his friends' children and just thought, thank God that my child or my preteen is not like that. Like, and I think he always just felt like that he won the lottery, because there was never any issues with you, that you were not like, you were not throwing things, you were not talking back at him, like you just kept it very, like, very, you were always very mild and very very kind and respectful, like, and you didn't speak out of turn, you didn't, like, or maybe you did, but like I think it's just more a figure of speech here, like that you just didn't do anything that caused any trouble. And I think he just really, I think he would describe you as a very, like, if he looks back at you as a child, I think he would describe you as a very easy child. Never any trouble with you. And also as a teenager, that he felt like, maybe I think your father even felt like you skipped the teenage years. Like, you never actually ever became like a terrible teenager. Like, you never lived up to that stereotype. Like, you always just kept being nice and pleasant and a very good teenager. And I think he also feels like now, like, that you're still just very pleasant, very decent. Like, you never dress provocatively. You never, like, you never call people names or like say or like, it's that he just really likes the way that you turned out. Like, that you're still very pure at heart. Like, and yeah, I'm going to shuffle a little bit about how your father perceives you. With a Knight of Hats here, Knight of Cups, I think your father perceives you as someone who's very giving, someone who always offers a hand, like whenever, like that you just want to help, like, and like if someone is in trouble, you're the first one to announce yourself and like tell them that you can help them with that. Like if somebody like if somebody disabled is struggling with something, you rush over to them and help them with whatever they are struggling with. And I think your father just sees you do all these good deeds, and that you seem to always just want to offer your help whenever it's needed, that you're not afraid of doing too much, and that you're not spoiled, like you're not and I think he's really proud of that, that he has brought up a child that is not spoiled, that doesn't shy away from any task just because you can. Like you wouldn't do it, like you wouldn't you wouldn't say something like, oh, that's none of my business, or like like there's so many people who would just walk away if they saw someone who was like passing out or something like that. Then there are so many people who would just feel like that's their business and they can just handle that on their own. Like, and I think your father sees that you're not like that. You're someone who always lends out a helping hand, and he's just proud. He's just really proud of that. I think he's also proud that you seem to care about people. Like maybe you've done something, like maybe you started a fundraiser for someone, like a GoFundMe or some kind of donation box, or like something where maybe you noticed that someone in your local area was struggling financially, and maybe you decided to do something about it and get some people with you on some kind of project to help that person get a decent living, or something like that. And I think he just really likes whenever you take initiative to do something for a stranger, like because it really shows him that you turned out to be an angel. Like, and I think he always knew you would, but he just didn't expect you to become so unproblematic. Like he thought, like he always saw you as an angel, but he thought like when you got to the teenage years, you would probably get feisty, like because that's what every child does. But he was just very, very positively surprised that you just kept being his little angel. And I think, yeah, it's very beautiful actually. So with the King of Wands here, I think he perceives you as someone who's very active, that you're not someone who's passive. Maybe he kind of feels like maybe he should have like there might be some things that and this has nothing to do with his perception of you, but more to do with his own regret. And I don't even know if I should say this, because I think your father wouldn't actually want you to know that this is something he thinks about sometimes. But I think if you've had problems with your weight, and maybe throughout your childhood, and maybe you still have some problems maintaining your weight or something like that, he might feel a little bit like maybe he should have done something, like, or like been a better role model, because maybe your father, like if your father is overweight, he might feel like maybe if he hadn't been overweight throughout your childhood, then maybe you wouldn't have become overweight either, and then maybe you wouldn't have had those struggles that you might have had like throughout childhood, because maybe it wasn't easy. Like if you were a bit overweight as a child, it might not have been easy with the other children maybe making fun of you or giving you a hard time because of that. And maybe he feels like that could have been avoided if he had sucked it up and changed his diet, and then he could have changed your diet too, because I think he feels like he made it that he created the problem, because he had maybe a soft spot for sweet things, like that he liked to have sweets around the house because he liked to eat them. So, and maybe he felt like if he hadn't had it around the house, then he wouldn't have had to have those. Like maybe he also feels like he created, like if you have a bad relationship with food, I think he might feel like he created that because he didn't want to change his own diet. So he kept things around the house that you weren't allowed to eat. Like maybe he made restrictions for you, where he had something up in a cabinet where you could reach them, but he just didn't let you have them because he was afraid that you would that he was afraid of your his unhealthy diet would rub off on you. And maybe that is what he has regrets about now, that maybe he created this bad relationship that you have with food, where you feel like you have to restrict yourself, and that you maybe never really learned intuitive eating because of him, like because of his influence. And I think, like, of course, if this doesn't resonate with you, then just don't listen to this part. Like if just block this part out. If it doesn't resonate, it doesn't resonate. But I just feel like for many of you, this is something he regrets. And I think he feels like his perception of you now, like I think, like if you're overweight now, I think he doesn't, like, it's not like I don't think he sees the problem. I don't think he sees that's a problem. Like for him, that's like because he's overweight too. So in his mind, it's not a problem. But I think he feels like because you have a problem with it, then he feels like he created that. That he created your insecurities. He was responsible for you to feel bad about yourself now, like that. And if you're maybe not obese, but like maybe the opposite of that, like if you have an eating disorder now, then maybe he feels like he created that by creating these restrictions and keep having these temptations around the house where you couldn't have them because he was constantly fixated on your weight and not creating any problems with your weight, and like that it was always a topic that he talked about. And maybe he feels like he shouldn't have done that, and he shouldn't have made it such a big issue. And maybe if he hadn't made it such a big issue in your childhood, then you wouldn't have such a big issue with it now. Like that, I think he felt like maybe either he should have changed his own diet back then and then changed your diet by default when he changed his own, or he should have been more accepting of just like that he shouldn't have made it out to be such a big issue and such a frequent topic to talk about, that he felt like maybe it was such a big part of your childhood that he feels regretful that it was even discussed so much, like it shouldn't have been discussed at all. Like that he feels like he made you feel like you were a problem to be solved. Sorry, I have like my throat is a bit sore, so that's why sometimes I stumble on the words because they can't really get out of the pipes, you know. But yeah, with the Ace of Flamingos here, which is Ace of Swords, I think your father perceives you as very smart, much smarter than he ever was. Like I think he's very proud of your achievements, the things that you've done in your life. I think he feels like you, like it's yeah. I think he also feels like you're very good at communicating, and that you're good with words. And I don't know, like if you have thought about going into like writing, like starting like some kind of writing career or journalism, or like I don't know, if you thought about writing a book or something like that. I think he's very excited about that, because I think he really wants you to do something where you express yourself with words, because I think he just feels like you're very good. You're good with languages. You're good with like you're just. I feel like your father sees you as someone who has a very good vocabulary, like that you're very good at just using words that he might sometimes have a hard time understanding, but they sound very good. So I think he gets very proud whenever you use a word that he doesn't understand, because then he knows that it's because he is a bit limited, and that you're outgrowing him in a way, and I think he's actually proud of that. But I'm going to shuffle, I think I'm actually going to shuffle some of these archetype cards just to get a bit more information about your father's perception of you. Okay, with the Thief card, it's actually not like, it's not about a thief, but the card, it says, sheds light on the potential wealth within you that can never be stolen. And so I think your father is proud that you see you have a great wealth within you, that you have, like that you have a very good sense of self-worth. And I think your father is just really proud that he raised you into being a person who knows your own worth, that you don't associate yourself with people who are beneath you, that you don't humor the idea of like dating someone who's like a dipshit. Like you don't. I think he's very proud that you're not going into that like into a bad direction in life, like by maybe by marrying someone who's like who's an idiot. I think he feels like you have very good taste in like when it comes to love. And I think he was always, I think this was something he always feared when you were younger. Like when you were a child and a teenager, he always thought like, he thought he had raised you well, that you had grown up to be a very, very nice person, and that the only thing that could like make the whole house of cards fall down would be if you started dating somebody with a motorcycle who had tattoos on their neck, and like that he was afraid that he couldn't control that part of your life, that could happen, and that maybe he even expected that to happen in a way, because he thought, well, with somebody so innocent and kind and sweet and pure, that somebody would be like a moth to a flame to someone, some bad guy, or like bad boy, or a bad girl or something like that. That he also maybe was afraid that like opposites attract. So he knew that he couldn't control that. If you fell in love with somebody like that, he would just lose you, because he wouldn't have a say in that, and he knew that. And so I think he was always afraid that you would start dating someone terrible. And I think he knows now that you're not going to do that. And maybe it's because you're already in a relationship. And if you are in a relationship, I feel like your father is very happy with the person that you're with. But if you're single, I think your father just feels like the people that you have chosen to date in the past seemed like very good types. Like that it seemed like you had a good type that you were going for. And I think he was happy with that. So yeah, I'm going to shuffle a little bit more just to get a bit more about how your father perceives you. With a teacher reversed here, like I don't think your father actually perceives, like I'm actually getting something else than what is on this card. But because like the shadow attributes on the cards, it says manipulating or abusing students, teaching negative traits and destructive skills. That would only, I guess that would only resonate if you're a teacher right now and you're teaching something that your father kind of disapproves of, which doesn't really make sense when I'm sensing this energy from your father, that your father actually approves of anything you do. So it would be like if your father is from a very proud country, and you're maybe teaching a language, because I'm sensing you're very good with languages. So like if you're teaching students a language that your father doesn't like maybe the villain country, like maybe that if there's a villain country like that, he like if you're, I don't know, but I don't think your father is super serious about this, but like if you're teaching English, then maybe your father feels like that's the enemy, or like that shouldn't, like we should all be nationalistic and not take on this international wave of teaching English in school for like children who are like 7 years old or something like that, that they shouldn't learn English so quickly, that, or so early on in life, that they should keep just learning their mother tongue, and that it's not right that this I don't know, like it could be something like that he's just very nationalistic and doesn't like the idea of like an international language, like a universal language that is getting too out of hand, or like getting too promoted in the educational system or something like that. I don't know. But it could also be like if you teach Russian, or if you teach like any other like language that somehow is considered an enemy to your father, like, or then maybe he feels like you're doing the wrong thing by teaching this language to students. I don't know. So but I think he is proud of you, but I think he would have just wanted you to choose another thing to teach people. Like, I think if you are a teacher, I think your father is very proud of the fact that you're a teacher, and I think he brags about that to his co-workers and the people and his neighbors and his friends and all of that. But he might go a bit quiet about what you actually teach, because he kind of, like, he might have a little bit of, like, I don't know why he seems to not really like that part, but I think he's very proud that you're a teacher. So yeah. But I think that's all I have for you, group number 3. I hope this reading was helpful, and if it was, please subscribe to my channel, and if you want a personal reading from me, check the description box below for more information on how to get one, and have a great day, and bye. Hello, group number 4. You chose the Icelandic Tarot deck, and I'm going to start with some channeling, and then I'm going to shuffle the cards for you. So I'm going to do the channeling now. So Spirit, can you answer this question for group number 4, the people who will choose group number 4, the people who will choose the Icelandic Tarot deck? How does group number 4's father perceive group number 4? Okay, so I'm sensing that your father perceives you as very busy, that you're always doing something for others, that you might also work a lot, like that you don't have a lot of time for yourself. And I feel like your father feels a bit frustrated about this, because I think he really wants to relieve some of the stress that you're in. Like, he wants to relieve some of the busyness. Like, he feels like if he could just do what he used to be able to do for you, then you wouldn't be so stressed out. Because I feel like he feels somehow that he is to blame for your busyness. Like, he is to blame for your stress. And I think he feels like that's maybe because, I don't know, I don't know if he got into like some kind of accident, or like if he had a blood clot, or if he has a heart condition or something, I don't know. But I think he feels like he used to be able to help you more. That he could help you with things that you needed, like that if something needed to be fixed around the house, he would be able to do it for you. And now he feels like he can't help you. Like he can't help you move from one apartment to another. He can't help you do physical tasks. And I think he feels like this creates just a bigger burden on you, and I think he just wants to relieve more burden from your shoulders. And I think he's just frustrated that he can't meddle, like he can't get in and kind of be a part of your life and relieving your stress and helping you. And I think he also, like, I think this is a part of his perception of you, is that I think it's a bit hard for him like to sometimes meet you or visit you, or whenever you visit him. I think he has a hard time dealing with that, because I think he feels inadequate. He feels like he isn't doing what he's supposed to do as a parent. That the biggest part, I feel like he is someone who really started living when he became a father. Like that was when his life truly began. And I think a lot of his identity is tied up to the fact that he's a father. And I think now that he feels like he can't help you physically, and maybe he can't help you financially either, because maybe since the accident, or since his health condition flared up, he might have had to stop working, or like he might have he might have had to go on sick leave, or like early retirement or something like that. And I think after that, I think he felt like he couldn't be there. He couldn't face the fact that he wasn't able to help his children financially. That he felt like that was just a big part of being a parent, was the financial aspect. And I think he just felt like it was embarrassing that he, like, I don't know if you got married at some point, or if maybe your sibling got married at like recently, or a few years ago, I don't know. But I think your father felt very embarrassed that he couldn't pay for the wedding. I think he always pictured himself paying for his children's wedding. Like he always thought that was that. I don't think he ever imagined that when that time came, that he wouldn't be able to help. And I think it was it was shameful. It was embarrassing for him, and I think he hasn't really. I think he hasn't coped with the fact that he can't do as much as he actually wants to do. And so I think whenever he thinks of you, he gets reminded of his own failure, like how he failed as a parent because he hasn't been able to help you. Maybe you've gone through something difficult. Maybe you have even like lost somebody close to you. Like maybe you, I don't know, but I feel like maybe you've gone through a grieving process yourself, where you have been needing help from your family, and maybe your father just felt like he left you out in the cold a little bit because he knew he couldn't help you physically or financially. He knew he couldn't be there for you, and so he just kept a little bit out of it, which I think was actually the worst thing he could have done. Because I think if he had called you or showed emotional support, then that would have been enough. I think the fact that he couldn't give emotional support because he was too embarrassed about his lack of financial support actually has been too. I think it's just caused two problems that I think but I think he just kind of deals with problems this way. Like he just can't really, I think he felt like at some point, like after this happened to his health, I think he felt like since he couldn't be the father that he always imagined himself to be, then he could just give up because he wouldn't be able to live up to that anyways. And I think that sort of I think that was not a good mindset. It kind of created more grievance, and I'm not sure he did the right thing there, because I think he could have easily just been emotionally supportive towards you, and you would have been happy with that. You would have been happy with whatever you got from him. Instead, you just got nothing. And I think like his perception of you is very, very positive though. Like he sees you as this superhero that seems to just be able to do everything for everyone, and that you're taking care of the things that maybe he's not taking care of. Like maybe if you have some siblings who are also not really getting the support from their father, maybe you're stepping in and playing a role as the father to your other siblings. And I think your father sees your effort and sees that, and I think your father is proud of you for stepping up, but also feels embarrassed that you feel the need to do it, because he knows that he's slacking. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. And I think as with more and more time that's passing, like I think it gets more and more awkward for him to kind of get back in the game. I think like at the beginning it just started with him kind of just ignoring his obligations because he felt like he couldn't think of it, because he like, because of whatever happened to his health, it really put him in a position where he just felt like he was just trash, like kind of like he needed to just be thrown out in the trash can and just wait for the collectors to collect the trash, and just that he was just going to the like I think he felt like he was out. He wasn't good for anything anymore. Like he was just like, and I think he just felt like he was a burden. And I think he felt like if he just kept away, like kept isolated from his children and his family, I think he just felt like then he wouldn't burden his children. And I think he just felt like he didn't want to burden you anymore, and so he just kept away. And I think he also felt like whenever he saw you or your siblings, I think he felt like it just bummed you out, like that you got sad about sad seeing him like that. That it made you that he felt like maybe it just was like this big shadow on your lives. That he could tell that you came in from like the door to the apartment. You came in smiling, but then when you saw him, your smile changed, and he could tell that the sight of him being sick was causing distress in you and your siblings. And I think that made him just decide that he would isolate himself from you, because you were just better off without having to deal with him. I think he thought like whenever he got better, he would start reaching out to you again and then invite you over. But I think when he got better, it just became a little bit awkward. Like he didn't, like I think he had a hard time picking up the phone, because it just got more and more awkward to do so. That he didn't know how to break the ice, didn't know how to talk about his health condition also. Like maybe when he got better, he might have felt like if he contacted you or your siblings, then the whole conversation would be about his health condition, and I think he just wanted to forget about it. And I think it just made him a little less keen on contacting you. And I think it's a big grievance for you, because of course you would want him to contact you more, because I believe that you, as the child of your father, I believe you want him to be in contact. But I think it's just hard for him, and I truly believe he thinks that even now, as he has become better, like his health has become better, I still think he feels like he's just a burden, because he can't really do the things, like still he can't do the things that a normal dad should do. Like, and I think that's just nagging him. And I'm gonna shuffle the cards a little bit just to get a bit more information about how your father perceives you. With the sun here reversed, I think it says joy, well-being, energy, material wealth, a just reward. And well, what I'm kind of focusing on here is like I think your father perceives you like this card didn't come out completely reversed though. It came out like kind of half reversed, half upright, but I'm kind of going to read it as both upright and reversed, if that makes sense, just because I felt like it couldn't really decide. The card couldn't decide on which side to switch onto. So I think your father perceives you as someone who is like the sun is somebody who sheds light on everybody, who cares for everybody, who creates joy wherever they go. But in Rider-Waite and other tarot decks, the sun is unhappy. Like the face of the sun is an unhappy face, but the child that the sun is shining its light upon is happy. So it's that the person who gives and gives and gives to everyone is not necessarily the person who should be giving, because maybe you should, I think your father feels like you should keep something for yourself, that you're sacrificing yourself for the joy and the good of others, like that other people should feel good around you, but you're not focusing on your own health and your own happiness. And I think your father feels like you're sacrificing too much, and that you seem to, I think he's proud that you seem to be the superhero of your own story, that you seem like this fantastic person who just steps in and seems to do everything that for everyone, and like whenever someone is in trouble, you're there to help, and that you seem like a bottomless pit of just what's it called, like surplus. I don't know if that makes sense, but like excess energy, like that. It seems like you always have excess energy, and I think your father doesn't know where it's coming from. Like it's like you just have so much to give, and you seem to, and I think your father feels like you have more hours in the day than everybody else, like because you seem to get so much done. Like you have, like, I don't know if you're working 2 jobs or something like that, but I think I feel like your father just doesn't understand how you do it, and how you manage to also have time for your siblings, also have time for your family, also have time for him, even though I think he feels like he doesn't even deserve it. And maybe like I feel like some of you might have like a child that you have become legal guardian over. I know this is very specific for some of you. I know it's not all of you who's become a legal guardian for a child. Like, but I think like some of you might have. Maybe you've taken somebody in, like maybe it's even your sibling. I don't know. But I feel like your father feels like it's just you're able to do so much, and they feel like they are able to do nothing at all, and they feel like if they could, they would lift your burden. And I think they really want you to know that if they actually could, they would want to step in, because maybe they feel a little bit like maybe you're not certain of that maybe, and maybe he also understands that, because there's no way to prove that. But I think he really wants you to know that if circumstances had been different, if his health hadn't decayed so much as it did, he would be there and helping you with some of the burden that's on your shoulders, and he wants you to know that. But of course you can't really use that for anything, but it might help you understand your father a little bit, because I think your father really wants to do more, but he's just stuck in this limbo state where he can't really, like, he's afraid of doing too much because of the backlash, like that. I don't know, like I think he's also afraid, especially if he has a heart condition, he might be afraid of accidentally getting himself in a situation where he can't be brought back into life. Like, and so I don't know if there was a close call at some point in the past, like if he died for a few seconds or something. But I think he's just afraid. He's afraid of getting back to that. I think he's afraid of afraid of dying. And if it's something else, like if it's his back, like if he broke his back, he might be afraid of doing something, like helping you with something and then having a backlash where he has to get in a wheelchair again. And I think it's just always something where, and he knows that you would never expect that from him, but I think he's just afraid of accidentally, because I feel like he's maybe the type of person who could get tempted to do more than he actually can. Like if he visited you and saw something, saw that something needed to be fixed or something, I think he would be tempted to fix it, and then maybe do it while you're not watching, like, and then he might have to suffer the backlash from doing that. Or like, I think he's always, because I think he really wants to act like a proper father to you, but he just, and like there's something here about the material wealth that is said on this card here. It says material wealth, and it came out practically reversed, this card here. And I feel like your father, your father is, I think your father is a bit afraid that your financial situation is worse than you tell him. Like that, I think he's afraid that you're hiding something from him, that you're not painting the proper picture of how it actually truly is. Like, I think maybe when your father asks you how the finances are going, you might say like it's fine, like everything's fine. And I think he feels like maybe you're not telling him something, and that you're maybe just protecting him from the truth. And I think that also hurts him, that he feels like you don't confide in him anymore, like that you used to confide in him with all your troubles and all your problems, but I think he feels like you don't confide in him anymore. And I think he knows that it's because you're protecting him, and I think that hurts. That he knows that that you don't think he can handle it. That you're afraid of. I think he's sad about that. I think he wants you to confide in him more, and then he might actually be able to help you with some of the problems that you have. Like if it is financial, like even though he doesn't have the means to help you right now, like he might, like if you actually told him how the true situation is, like if you are in financial trouble right now, I think he would try to figure it out. Like even like he would find some way to maybe at least relieve some of it, like by maybe selling out some stuff at his home, or do something, because I think he really wants to be able to help. And he might even take a loan, like for you, if you actually confided in him with your financial situation. And of course that's not good, but it kind of tells you, it kind of paints a picture of someone who would actually do more than, I think you're kind of giving him, you're maybe not giving him a lot of credit. And I understand, because I think he has been very passive throughout the past few years, and maybe even more than that. And so I understand why maybe you don't expect him to really want to help you, like truly, because maybe you feel like if he actually wanted to step up and do something, then he would have done it a long time ago. And so I understand that maybe some of you have a little bit of frustration because of his passivity, like that he is so passive, and he keeps to himself, and he's not getting involved, he's not calling, and so it kind of paints a picture of somebody who doesn't care. But if shit hits the fan, like if things really gets out of control and you really need help, then he would be there if you asked him to. Like if you really truly like if you told him that it's critical, like that it's a really bad situation, he would try to find a way to be there for you. So maybe you don't believe me, maybe you feel like he wouldn't, but I think that maybe you should test it someday, like, because I think you would be positively surprised that he is actually willing to go quite far to help you if it was truly a critical situation. So with the Hanged Man reversed, I think your father perceives you as someone who's not a procrastinator. Like you're not someone who's postponing things. Like you're, sorry, procrastinator. I pronounced it weird, but yeah. But yeah, I think your father sees you as someone who's very active. Like that you're the opposite of him, maybe, especially now. Where he's not as flexible as you might be, like you might be able to do more things, and I think he is very proud of you, that you're so active, that you don't get stagnant. Like, and I think he might feel a little bit that one of the things that caused his downfall was that he was so stagnant. Especially after his health got bad. Like I think he just gave up. And I think he knows now that it contributed badly to his health condition, that he just gave up and became stagnant and stopped trying. And I think he's very proud that you keep fighting, that you're always so active, you keep yourself busy, you're not you don't throw in the towel when going gets tough. Like, and I think your father is just very proud of that. I'm going to shuffle some of these archetype cards just to get a little bit more information about how your father perceives you. With the Goddess reversed, I kind of feel like I don't know if you're in a relationship right now. I probably shouldn't say this, but I think your father might feel like your current partner isn't really pulling his weight. His or her weight. I don't know the gender, but that maybe your father feels like you would be better off with somebody else. Like, but that's if you're in a relationship. Of course, I know that many of you are single. So, but I feel like for those of you who are in a relationship, I feel like your father. It's not that your father doesn't approve of it. I think he's happy with his son-in-law or daughter-in-law or whatever. But I think I think your father just feels like he's not helping, he or she, that that your partner is not helping enough, that he or she could be lifting some of the burden off your shoulders. And maybe that's also your father's way to kind of cope with his own inadequacy, is to just blame your partner and say like, well, your partner isn't doing anything either, so it's not just your father who is unable to do something for you, like that it's and I think he feels like I think your father feels like you deserve someone who's going to help you, someone who's going to be a true partner, a true asset in your life, and someone who could maybe replace your father. I think your father is a bit nervous because he feels like you haven't gotten a proper replacement for him when he dies. And I think this is something your father thinks about a lot, is that he's afraid to die and leave you either in the hands of someone who's not capable of helping you or doing anything for you or treating you nicely. And I think that is like the worst case scenario, that you're going to get stuck with this person that you might be in a relationship with now. But if you're single, I think your father is afraid that you haven't found a replacement yet. Like that he's going to leave this earth and no one is going to be there to take care of you. And I think that's something he is just very, very nervous about. It really seems like something that's on his mind a lot. But I'm going to shuffle a little bit more about how your father perceives you. The Fool reversed. I think he feels like I feel like your father doesn't see you as a fool, and that's a good thing. I think your father sees you as someone who's very smart, that you're very capable, and if you just focus a little bit more on yourself instead of focusing all your energy on others and helping others and being there for others, I feel like your father thinks that you could get very far in life, like that. And of course, maybe you have already gotten quite far, but I think your father just feels like you have so much potential, and you're wasting it because you're surrounding yourself with incapable people. Yeah, maybe the person that you're in a relationship with, or the people that you used to date, that maybe your father just feels like if you just found someone who could actually take care of you and who could take care of you financially too, then you would have the time and the energy to maybe get further education or start your own business or write the book that you might have been thinking about writing, or like I just feel like your father feels like one of the reasons why you're maybe not living up to your fullest potential, which is very big in the eyes of your father. I think your father thinks of you as someone who could go really far in life, and because I think your father sees you as very talented, very smart, and I feel like your father thinks that the only thing that keeps you down is the choices you make with the people around, like that you keep people in your life who are not deserving of your energy, that you seem to kind of that you're taking care of strays, like that you're taking in stray dogs, all like, and in that I mean stray humans, like that you seem to. I think your father feels like you just take pity on some highly dysfunctional people, and you get them into your life, and then you suddenly have to take care of them, and then all of your time and energy goes to that project. And I think your father just feels like you're never going to get anything in return for this. That it's a kindness that's going to be unrewarded in some way, or like this card here, the Sun card, it also says a just reward, and it came out reversed. So I think your father feels like you're not getting the reward that you deserve, that you deserve to be rewarded more for the selfless acts that you do throughout your life, like, and that you have done and that you're still doing, and you're just doing it to people who don't seem to appreciate it as much as they should, and that it's not very emotionally rewarding, and that it's mostly just draining you dry, and that if you didn't have all this responsibility for people who you really don't, that you don't need to help really, because you've just taken on this responsibility by your own free will. And I just feel like your father feels like it's taking away your time from your true purpose in life, that you could be building your legacy. Instead you're wasting time on, like, maybe you also have a job where you take care of people, and maybe your father just feels like it's not that you could just be doing something more, something else. I feel like it's, I don't know really what this is about, but somehow I just feel like your father sees you do something different, something that's more you, something a little bit more selfless. So that I think, I don't know why this, I don't know why your father would see a job in helping others as something negative. In any other cases, that would actually be something a father would be proud of. Like if you're a nurse, your father should be proud of that, and like that you're helping people and helping people survive, and helping people who are maybe in the same situation as your father. Like that would be a positive thing. But I just feel like your father thinks you should do something that is more validating, something something creative maybe. So I don't know. But yeah, I think that's all I have for you, group number 4. I hope this reading was helpful, and if it was, please subscribe to my channel, and if you want a personal reading from me, check the description box below. And yeah, have a great day, and bye.